Hi, my name is John Simmons, and this is my final presentation for educational research. The topic I chose was transitioning to student-centered learning. So I tried to focus on student-centered learning and how schools switch from teacher-centered learning to student-centered learning. So the topic itself, transitioning to student-centered learning, the topic focuses on considering students' interests and needs in curriculum planning. So I've always thought that there should be a switch to student-centered learning. I think teacher-centered learning is more what my school does, and I don't find it to be as effective. I think that if we found ways to get kids more engaged and had them actually doing things that were more related to real-world application, then we'd have more success. I'm a math teacher, and the thing I hear the most every day is, when am I ever going to use this? And I always usually don't have a clear answer for them, to be honest, with a lot of the stuff that we teach. So I would like for there to be a transition to more applicable skills and more student-centered learning as far as like how the material is delivered. So the transition itself is kind of what interests me. I've never been in a school where the transition actually happens. Like I said, I've mostly been in situations where teacher-centered learning was more what happened. Despite the fact that research shows the benefits of student-centered learning, I think part of the reason that it doesn't happen is because curriculums would have to be rewritten, and also there's a dependence or kind of a pressure for schools to pass state standardized testing. Um, and I think that our schools try to do it sometimes by seeking experts and giving professional development, but it still hasn't happened. So I picked the topic just to kind of look at some other schools' perspectives on it and see if I could figure out any ways to maybe influence my school, or maybe even just get ideas for myself on implementing student-centered learning. So again, reasons that I picked it, like I said, I have issues with our current curriculum and kind of the way that math is taught in general, especially to kids who don't express an interest in going to college and express an interest in the trades. I don't feel we teach them math properly. I really would like math to be more engaging and of interest, but like I said, curriculums tend to rely on state standardized testing. It's frustrating there's a lack of implementation of student-centered learning, despite the fact that research shows that it benefits students. And I have an interest in the implementation, like I said, and overcoming those obstacles. So again, I felt like if I looked more into this topic, maybe I could educate myself better on the actual transition and help my school be a part of that. So when I went through the research, how did it change my view of the topic? I'm still a supporter of student-centered learning, but specifically the transition is what I tried to focus on. It confirmed a couple things. It confirmed my thoughts on why implementation does not occur. The big issue seems to be time. The two studies that I did showed that people liked student-centered learning, but it just making that transition would take so much time, and there simply wasn't time. That was the big issue. People liked it. There was evidence that showed that kids liked it in the studies, but it still wasn't really happening. The big thing that was confirmed was the issue with professional development. In my qualitative study, the research showed that the big reason that student-centered learning wasn't happening was because there wasn't a focus on it in ongoing professional development and ongoing aid and help to teachers to implement it. A lot of times it was just kind of one-day things, which has been my experience as a teacher. What kind of changed my perspective looking at both of my studies was both of my studies discussed when it was successful was when teachers kind of took the lead and just implemented it on their own. Like they didn't really wait for leadership or administration or curriculum coordinators to make that change. They just kind of started doing it themselves. I didn't see anything in the articles about how they still managed to meet their school's curriculum and kind of do more student-centered learning. But that's something I hope to research more on my own. And the big thing I said that made me kind of change my perspective is I shouldn't wait around for someone else to make the change. I should just kind of do it myself if it's possible. As far as on consuming the research, it was really tough at first. There's a lot of information in the readings and stuff like that, and kind of writing stuff about it and analyzing it in such a short period of time was tough. But I feel like I get it a lot more now. I really liked how it shed light on my topic of interest and made me see the transition students are learning and look at it from a different perspective rather than waiting for other people to do it for me. I have more of a will to do it myself. It generated a lot of new ideas, specifically about me taking a leadership role. And I like that it can support assumptions or it can alter assumptions. Like in this case, it supported a lot of my assumptions about why the transition doesn't happen, but I kind of had a lot of blame for leadership in not making that transition happen. That's altered my assumption. The studies kind of showed that the administration really isn't to blame for the lack of implementation, and the teachers aren't either. But time is, and if people want it to happen, then they need to find the time to make it happen. My thoughts on consuming research as far as issues with this, I've kind of already talked about time and the implementation, but also staff interest. Like a lot of people I felt like don't really want to look at research and then actually use that research, whether it be on student-centered learning or anything else, to change things that they're doing. There's people that have been doing the same thing for so long, and they realize that if they change things, it's going to take up a lot of their time and it's going to be more work for them. So as far as thoughts on consuming research and the issues I see behind that is a lot of people simply won't react to research because it's going to take up more of their time and be more work. Here's my two studies if anybody feels like reading them. The first one is about teachers' perspectives on professional development, just looking at professional development on student-centered learning and how it helped them or how it didn't help them, why they used what they learned in the professional development or why they did not use what they learned in professional development. And then the qualitative study is about leadership in driving that transition. It tried to look at who was driving the transition in the schools, why it happened or why it didn't happen. So that's my presentation. I hope you like it. Happy to be done with the class, and I'm sure I'll see you guys in some of the future classes.